G'day everybody, welcome to the next video on how to use Excel. In this one we're going to show you how to calculate sums and averages. We're going to build on the skills you've learnt in the previous videos, so if you haven't already looked at those, please do so. Now, if you haven't already opened a spreadsheet called Calculating Sums and Averages, please pause the video, open the spreadsheet and then return to here. Once you've got the spreadsheet open, it should look like this. The data sheet we have here is pretty much the same as we had in the previous tutes. You can see we've got a series of quadrats, whether they're burnt or unburnt, what species was in them, and the number of seedlings in each quadrat. Now, in this tutorial, we're going to show you how to calculate averages. So you could answer questions such as, what's the average number of daisy seedlings that were found in unburnt plots? Or what's an average number of sedge seedlings found in burnt plots? Now, the reason you might want to do that might not be apparent at the moment, but in your assignment, you're going to have to generate charts and tables that shows this type of summary data. And as an example, if you move down to the bottom left-hand corner here to the tab that says Chart, and we click on that, this is an example of a chart that's based on the data in the previous table. As you can see, it shows for burnt plots. In the blue, it shows the average number of daisy seedlings. In red, it shows the average number of sedge seedlings in the burnt plots, and the same for the unburnt plots. Now, the chart is based on this little table on the left here. So to generate a chart, you need to summarize all the data out of the detailed data tables into a summary table like this. You just can't draw a chart directly from the complicated table. So our challenge today is, how do we calculate these numbers out of that data table? So let's return to the table we had, go down to the tab at the bottom left here, click on Sort Table, and we return to here. So again, out of all this, we want to calculate the average number of daisy seedlings and sedge seedlings in each fire zone. If this looks simple in this little example, remember in your residential school example, you'll have thousands of rows in a data sheet, so you can't calculate them by hand or by calculator. So this tute will be really necessary. So what we need to do first off is obviously sort this table into an order so we can see all the burnt plots together and all the sedge plots together, just as we did in the earlier tutes. So we begin by highlighting that table by pressing Shift Control down, Shift Control right arrow, and then we want to sort it using the methods we showed in the earlier tute. So we move up to the right here to Sort and Filter, click on that, click Custom Sort here, and then we first off want to sort it by the fire zone, whether it's burnt or unburnt. So we click on burnt or unburnt. And then we also need to sort it by species. So we say add level, and we now select species there. So we're sorting it by burnt or unburnt and then species. And we end up with a lovely sorted table like this. To show you how well it's sorted, I'm just going to colour each group of quadrats. You don't have to do this, but it'll help you see the groups when we get to the next steps in the tutorial. So I'm just highlighting the colour and changing the colour in each of those groups. And as you can see, we've now got all the burnt plots with daisies in them and the number of seedlings in each plot. So how do we calculate totals and averages? We want to know what's the average number of seedlings, of daisies in a burnt plot, etc. To start with, let's insert a blank line after each group. And in that blank row, we will then calculate the averages. So if we select the row here below all the burnt daisies, I've just clicked on the number on the left here to select the whole row 8. I right click, say Insert, and it inserts a blank row for us. I'll colour that bright yellow so that it stands out clearly. Okay, now let's move down to below the next group, row 13 here. Right click, Insert, colour that bright yellow, down to row 18 down below, Insert, right click, etc, etc. So we now have a bright yellow line beneath each group of quadrats. Now we'll start off not by doing averages, we'll start by doing totals, by adding them up, just because it's a simpler way to start. So in this cell here we'll write the word total, and we'll move across here to underneath our number of seedlings, and this is where we want Excel to calculate what's the total number of seedlings in those 4 quadrats. Really easy to do. If you look up on the right hand part of your spreadsheet on the ribbon up the top, you'll see where it says auto sum with a little delta symbol. If you click on auto sum there, it inserts a formula in our cell which says equals the sum of all the cells from E4, which is the top one above us, down to E7. It's easy to change which cells are in that sum. If you move your cursor to the very top right hand corner of the flashing blue box there, you can then move that up or down, and as you do you'll change which cells are used in the calculation. We want all 4, so we'll move it back up and then we'll press enter. And as you can see, Excel says that there are 54 seedlings in those burned plots, 54 daisy seedlings. We want to repeat that for each of the other groups. Now we could repeat all the steps, but a faster way is just to copy that row and paste it down below each other set. So if we highlight the whole row by clicking on the 8 at the left there, say copy, Control C. Now we move down to row 13 here where we've got our blank line, and we say paste or Control V. You can see it pastes in the formula there as well. Move down to the next yellow line, push paste, Control V, we do the same, down to the very bottom one, and we have now a sum in each of these cells. If we go and check to see what they've done, if we move to this cell here for the burnt sedge sum, it says there's 24 seedlings in total. If you click up in the formula bar at the top where it says the formula, click on that, you'll see the blue box highlights, shows you which cells are in the formula. They're the ones we want, so we're happy with that. Move down to below to the next one, the number 16 here under the unburnt daisies. Click in the formula bar. Again, you can see that's highlighted the 4 cells we want. If we scroll down a little to the bottom one and we click there, you can see once again we've got just the 4 cells we want. So you can see we've got the sums or totals calculated really easily. Don't have to do anything by hand, it's all done for you. Now, we want to calculate the average number of seedlings in each zone, not the total. So we'll just quickly delete these total values. I'll just highlight the row, push delete on my keyboard, highlight, delete, highlight, delete, highlight, delete. We've kept the rows, the empty blank rows there, and now we want to put in averages. So we'll type average here, move across to the cell with Now we'll repeat what we did before, but instead of asking Excel to calculate the sum, we'll ask Excel to calculate the average for us. So we highlight the cell we're interested in, we again move up to the top right to auto sum, but instead of clicking on the word auto sum, just to the right of it you'll see a little downward pointing triangle, which if you click on that opens a dialog box, and you can see you have the option of calculating the sum, the average, or counting how many numbers, or working out the maximum or minimum. We want average, so we'll click on average, and now you see it gives us the formula equals average of those cells. We say return, and you can see the average now is 13.5. So on average there were 13.5 seedlings in the burnt plots for the daisy seedlings. So let's copy that formula down the same way we did before. So select the whole row, push copy, Control C, move down to the next one, push paste, Control V, down to the next yellow line, push paste again, and paste once more. And you can see now that Excel has calculated the average number of daisy seedlings in the burnt zone here, the average number of sedge seedlings in the burnt zone, etc, etc. Just to check once more, if you click in the formula bar up to the top here and click on that, Excel will highlight which cells are used in that formula, and you can see they're the ones we want. Now, these are the data that we want to make our graphs from. So if we now move to the next tab down the bottom here where we had chart, and we click on that, you can see we've got a little table here, and we've entered in the answers for these averages. In the burnt plots there were 13.5 daisy seedlings. That's what's in our chart. Let's move back to the main table again, and we can see in the burnt plots there were 13.5 daisy seedlings. Down a step more, we should have 6 sedge seedlings in the burnt plots on average. Go down to our chart tab down the bottom, click on that, and you can see there's 6 seedlings. So very simply here we've been able to use Excel to calculate the averages, and then we can put those in a summary chart to make our graph like this. Now let's just move back to the sort table for a moment. One thing that's important to recognize when you're calculating averages in Excel is how Excel deals with blank cells and zero values. Let's have a look at these data for our burnt sedge plots, and I'll highlight that in white just so you can see it very clearly. You can see that in those 4 plots we had 2 seedlings in the first plot, 11 seedlings in the second plot, 0 in the third plot, and 11 seedlings in the fourth plot. And the average of all that is 6. So 2 plus 11 plus 0 plus 11 divided by the number of plots, which is divided by 4, equals 6. What happens if we replace this 0 with a blank? If we just delete the 0? You can see now the average isn't 6, it's 8. And the reason that is Excel just says this cell doesn't exist, it's blank, there's nothing there. So to calculate the average, it's 2 plus 11 plus 11 divided by the number of plots that have information for, which isn't 4 now, it's 3. So the calculation is 2 plus 11 plus 11 divided by 3 equals 8. So it makes a big difference whether you have a blank cell or a 0 there. We'll put the 0 back and you see how average changes. Now the question of whether you have a 0 or a blank cell in any calculation isn't an Excel question, it's just a question of logic. It depends on the question you're asking it to do. If we have our 4 cells here, then it means that we went to the first quadrant, we found 2 seedlings, we went to the second quadrant, we found 11, we searched the third quadrant and all we found was nothing at all, and we searched the fourth quadrant and found 11, and the average of all that's 6. By contrast, we could have gone to our first quadrant and found 2 seedlings, gone to the second quadrant and found 11 seedlings, and then gone to the third quadrant but not had time to do it, or we forgot it. So we don't know if there are no seedlings there or a million seedlings there, so we just leave it blank, we don't know. We then moved on to our fourth quadrant and we sampled that. So we actually only have 3 quadrants from which we can calculate an average in this example now, which is why we've got an example out of 8. So it makes a big difference whether you have a 0 or a blank. So that's a very simple way of how to calculate averages and sums in Excel. It's really obvious, very simple steps, and from that you can calculate and generate charts like this. In the next tutorials we'll show how to make this a little bit more automated and a more simpler, again, so you can actually do it even quicker. Thanks very much. Bye.